Yo, what's up, everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and I hope you all are having a good day so far today. And at least we have the stock market to be grateful for. At least for today, we got a nice 1.30% gain if you include the after hours. And so we had a actually really solid day until about 3:15 p.m. and then it ended up going lower than that initial pre-market start. So I was really excited to see us start at this 1.27% marker pretty much at the beginning of the day, and then ever since then it just gradually increased until it got to that marker. We'll go ahead and check out VOO since it pretty much mirrors the general stock market, but it does the same thing as my portfolio. Starts out pretty high above the market, 1.03%, and then just continues on upwards until about 3:15 as mentioned earlier. And for some reason it decided to just drop at this point pretty much until after hours, and after hours has been pretty steady as well. But unfortunately we lost some progress that we made throughout the day once it hit that downwards trend right there, but at least today ended positive. I'm definitely grateful for that, especially anything over 1% in VOO is a pretty solid day if you ask me. So as you can see, we made about $900 today. I'll absolutely take that as passive income. Any positive day for me is pretty much a good day. But I will say, I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen in the future. I mean, pretty much everybody is. But I'm kind of like leaning towards the side of, are we going to have another recession or a significant crash? Or is this actually going to be the opposite of what most people are thinking, and somehow the market is going to get out of this and survive and then just start being a bull market once again? So I definitely wonder, and I feel like we're heading more towards the direction of another future crash as well, unless the Fed can just keep pumping out so much money until our current economic situations solve themselves. Then I feel like we're always teetering on that edge towards a bear market maybe, and possibly an eventual crash. But I definitely would like to hope that we don't have something like that in the future. But my current problem right now is a lot of stocks, in my opinion, are a little bit overvalued. And maybe not just overvalued, but overvalued given the current situation and our timeline right now with the economy and all of the other problems that we have. Now, I will say, and I've had people disagree with me, I think VOO actually may be one of those better value stocks right now. It's not super undervalued or anything, but I feel like it's a reasonable price. And it is absolutely possible. Microsoft and Apple are both in VOO. It's basically the top 500 companies. But in my opinion, you can totally have situations where Apple and Microsoft are overvalued, or they basically meet that accurate fair value. But you can also, in my opinion, still have VOO, which contains this and much more. You can still have VOO be an undervalued stock. And I had this conversation with someone in the comment section the other day in which they disagree with that, but I absolutely think that is possible, because if you just take into consideration this, VOO for the past year is still negative. If we just take into consideration this 0.81% and just consider it as zero, just for easier math right here, then that means we've basically reset a full year of growth on VOO. So we're at like a 2018 value, like a May 5th, 2018 value right now, if we're just saying that it hasn't grown any. So in my opinion, this makes this undervalued because of the situation within the current year. I think what really matters with judging whether a stock is undervalued or not is seeing its growth for the year compared to growth in previous years. And given that the general trend for VOO is 10% every year, and we are at a negative 0.81%, which, I just realized that's negative 0.81, so not even 0.81. So under 0%, we've actually backtracked more than a year. Then this is not meeting up with this normal trend. However, if you look at something like Microsoft, which if you look at the past year, it's positive in the percentage. It's positive plus 43%. And it's not in the negative. If you look at the past 5 years, it's 274% in growth. So it is sort of near that average of 43% or a little bit above that for every year over the past 5 years. So this isn't negative for the year, and it's going along with its normal trend for growth. And if we look at Apple as well, we see something a little bit similar. And I think Apple has grown a lot more in the past year than it normally does. But as you can see, within the past year, it's plus 46%, and then in total, it's plus 130%. So my point is, that is how other stocks may be accurate in terms of a fair value, or maybe a slight bit overvalued, because they're meeting their normal trends for the year. However, with a stock like VOO, it is 10% under the normal trend right now, a little over that. So in my opinion, VOO is technically undervalued because we've rewound a whole year in price, and it still hasn't met that standard 10% gain for the past year, as you can see right here. So that is my perfect explanation for someone that was disagreeing with me. They were basically basically saying that considering that Apple and Microsoft are both in VOO, if both of these, Microsoft and Apple, are considered overvalued or accurate in terms of a fair value currently, then they were saying that there's no way VOO could be considered undervalued. But that is making the assumption that every stock, basically the whole stock market, is overvalued, which is very inaccurate because you can have stocks like VOO that I would consider undervalued given its growth over the past year compared to its normal trend of growth. However, I think in the future we may have even better opportunities for purchasing this at a lower bottom or a much cheaper price. Right now doesn't mean I don't think it can go lower in the future. I just believe that it is a little bit undervalued compared to some of the other stocks out there that are sort of meeting their fair value or maybe just a little bit over it. And I just wanted to address that aspect because there's a lot of people out there that think they understand stocks and think they know everything when it's really not as rigid as you think. There's a lot of people that think they can predict the market, which is pretty much impossible. No one can consistently predict the market, and there's a lot of people that think they can be that exception out there and they end up losing money. So I just thought I would mention that because it seemed like the person was making the mistake of assuming that the stock market is either going to be one or the other in general, instead of multiple stocks, certain ones being overvalued and certain ones being undervalued, and how everyone is pretty much individual to itself. And even when you have situations with ETFs that hold other stocks that are pretty much accurate value, that doesn't mean that the ETF like VOO isn't holding other stocks out there that could bring this VOO ETF stock price down for the year. So for example, although it's holding some pretty solid stocks, it may be holding some bad ones as well, which is keeping it down for the year and making it at a negative percentage so far instead of the normal 10% growth. And by the way, I just want to emphasize this. The way that I can judge whether VOO is pretty much at a fair value or above or below that is because it's sort of a rarity, but with ETFs like this, you can consistently expect about a 10% growth rate every year, and you can almost pretty much guarantee something around that range. Unless you have a significant stock market crash that changes everything, that's pretty much the average that you're going to consistently get out of VOO. And the value of the stock pretty much just comes from the number of people that are either purchasing the ETF or selling it, which therefore affects its price. So if it is not meeting that standard of 10% growth every year, that means that it is currently undervalued for the current market situation. And especially with the recent crash, we are basically a year behind on this stock, in which it should have grown over 10% by now, and we are behind in that number. So therefore, you can consider it undervalued. However, you can't always apply this logic to other stocks out there that aren't ETFs that you can expect a certain percentage from. So for example, like Microsoft and Apple, I can't judge fair value based off of percentage growth because it doesn't have like a normal percentage number that you can generally expect from that stock. It's pretty much just based on how well the company performed over the past year or so, or how it's performed recently. And you can also look at things such as the Morningstar Robinhood Gold Fair Value Report, the research report, and as you can see, the fair value is currently 196, and it was recently at 185 and changed just a few days ago. So as you can see, Microsoft is nearing that fair value. Not there yet, considering they recently changed it, but it's pretty much meeting at that level and maybe just a little bit undervalued. But you can also look at this with Apple as well. It is way over the fair value. It's at a price of $298 currently, but the fair value is expected to be $240. So as you can see, Apple apparently from this information is considered overvalued. So that is just a huge example of how you can have stocks that are either almost meeting fair value and then another that is way over fair valued that are both within VOO, which is actually what I would consider under fair value, given the fact that it is currently not meeting its consistent average growth rate per year. But anyways, I thought I would just add a little fresh take in there because it seems like I'm always just like reciting off my gains and losses and I don't say much else. So when I do have the opportunity to bring something up or just bring an example up of some knowledge that I gained or just a good example to explain a situation in the market, I try to do so because I feel like that adds a little bit more to these portfolio updates. But anyways, just back onto VOO, pretty much 1.18% gain today, $360, so that's pretty nice for passive income. And in total, we have minus 9.19% or 31.21 that we are in the negative on for VOO. Then next up with Microsoft, this one has done me very well. I love Microsoft. plus 1.43% today, or $248. And in total, we are plus 14.08% in the green, or 2171. I cannot believe we got past 2K. That is actually very awesome. I'm loving my Microsoft stock. And I try to tell everybody ahead of time, but of course everyone has their own perspectives, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has those stocks that they feel comfortable with, and Microsoft just happened to be one of mine. But as you can see with Apple, we are plus 1.99%, or plus $244 for the day. And in total, we are at 4.5% in the green at a $547 gain. So I'm pretty excited about Apple. And man, oh man, that is actually getting super close to $300. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves in the future. And then finally, we have Tesla. Once again, a good day for Tesla at 1.91% in gains, or $116. And then in total, we are a little bit negative, minus 287, which is down 4.42% for the stock. So I'm pretty happy with Tesla. It's just one of those stocks that I'm going to have faith in for such a long time, because it is one of those industry disruptive stocks. It's completely changing an industry, and a lot of people really have faith in it because it's sort of revolutionizing technology with the batteries in the vehicles, utilizing renewable energy such as solar panels, and creating electric vehicles. So I really think this is going to be a fantastic stock for the future, just because of how it's going to revolutionize an industry. And then there's also going to be other things with Tesla as well, not just the vehicles, but you have the solar panels, and it's just untelling what Elon will create for the brand that is already in addition to the automotive sort of sector or category. But anyways, just wanted to share my gains, and I didn't really show any losses pretty much just because it's free stocks over here. And just to add a few things in about the market, the moves that I'm making, as I always say, these videos are not intended to be financial advice or anything like that. It's simply just me sharing my thoughts and opinions, my moves in the market, and things along those lines. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out. And if you'd like to begin investing, feel free to use my referral links for Robinhood and Webull. You'll get some free stocks, which is pretty awesome. But I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe out there as always.